My name is Jessie, and I was born and raised a Mormon. I was blessed in the church. I was baptized and confirmed a member of the church at 8. I went to church every Sunday. When my family went on vacations, we went to church sites. I participated in activity days and young women's, dances, and trek. I graduated seminary, married in the temple, and had 2 babies who were born in the covenant. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, ridiculously nervous about doing this right now. I wanna emotionally eat, but I can't emotionally eat because my husband ate all the Oreos and all the Twinkies, and I have nothing to eat. I just wanna eat all of the things. All right, we're gonna try this again because my brain, I can't. I'm like super terrified to do this because if I tell my whole story, like all of the things, like if I keep posting videos on this YouTube channel, my side of the family is going to find out that I'm not straight, and that might be a problem with some of my family members, and that makes me ridiculously nervous. So kind of makes me not want to do this. All right, okay, we're gonna do it. I left Mormonism in October of 2019, actually Halloween Day. That's my new favorite day of the year now. It's probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my whole life. And mind you, I've pushed 2 bowling ball sized beings out of my. That was not the most pleasant thing on earth. 5 years before I left the church, my husband came to me and told me that he did not believe that the church was true anymore. We were on this trip together, and he grabbed my hand in the car and said, I don't think the church is true anymore. And I was just shocked. Like, I didn't know what to do. Because this is, I mean, it was the true church. How could he not believe it was true? And so I pushed him for a while. I tried to get him to read his scriptures. I tried to get him to do things with us. And honestly, he was way more supportive than I could have ever asked for. He went to church with us every Sunday. He helped me get the kids ready. He went with us to sacrament meeting. He would sometimes even suggest that we read scriptures together. Like he knew it was what I wanted. Even though he didn't believe in God at all at this point in time, he helped me to live my faith in a way that was just really kind and amazing, honestly. So anyways, I push him sometimes, and I am really upset because the closer and closer we get to 2018, the closer and closer we get to the baptism of my child. And I really want my husband to do that. And so I feel like I've got time to help him to come back to the church. And along the way, I started learning things about the church. Along the way, I started learning about the sex scandals that went on. Anyways, in 2016, my husband and I are on another date together, and I'm pushing him. I'm trying to figure out, like, what's your problem with Joseph Smith? Like, why can't we, what is it about him? Like, what would have to change for you to actually believe it? And he said, well, Joseph married a 14-year-old girl. That's just not something I can really get past. Like, this wasn't new. I had read it somewhere a few months previous, but kind of had dismissed it. Like, there's no way. This man who was supposed to have been a prophet had married a girl. This idea that he was marrying a child just made me sick. And I have to tell you, after that conversation though, every day for months and months and months and months, I thought about that. And it's funny because on that date night, like, I had tried to justify it, like, because I'd been trying to justify polygamy the whole time. I was like, well, Joseph Smith's polygamy, like, we don't understand now, but God will explain that to us later. And then when this conversation about this 14-year-old girl came up, and I could not justify that, I said, well, maybe that's why God let Joseph be killed in Carthage. Like, maybe Joseph was leading the church astray with his polygamy and with what he was doing, and maybe that's why God killed him, or God let him be killed. And it's funny because that line of thinking didn't help me at all, honestly. because the prophet we got next was Brigham Young, and Brigham Young was like worse than Joseph Smith was. So during the summer, I had missed a few weeks of church because we were traveling or camping or something, and I felt so good, honestly. Like, the weeks I missed church, I felt so much better. I've been struggling with my faith. I'd been struggling so much, and not being at church really made a huge difference for me. But when summer was over and we went back, I really started to struggle again. And especially because I felt like, man, I'm trying so hard. I'm reading my scriptures. I'm doing what I need to be doing. I'm praying every day. I'm trying to be a good mother. I'm trying to be a good wife. Like, what am I doing wrong that I'm like, what's going on that I'm struggling so much with my faith? Just after summer was over, I ran into this TV show called Escaping Polygamy. And polygamy's always been one of those things that really bothered me. Started watching episodes. I came across clips on YouTube, and there was this one specific clip of Joseph Smith, and they had Joseph Smith and Warren Jeffs and their faces next to each other. And I could not, after that, I could not separate the two men. I saw Warren Jeffs, and all I saw was Joseph Smith. Joseph Smith had done almost the same exact thing that Warren Jeffs had, except Warren Jeffs got a younger girl, 13, not 14. I asked my mother Halloween day, they came over to visit, and I was like, how do you justify the polygamy? Like, I'm really struggling with polygamy. What do you do about it? And she said, well, I just pray about it. And prayer wasn't working for me anymore, especially after watching this TV show and seeing that there were these young girls who were leaving polygamy, but still believed in their prophet, and still believed in their church, and still believed in their Book of Mormon, and knowing that they had prayed about the same things that I had prayed about, except their prophet was different, and that they got the answer that their church was true, and I got the answer that my church was true, and both those things don't fit. And so prayer didn't work for me anymore. There's one time I prayed and asked if the church was true, and I prayed and asked if the church wasn't true, and I got the same nice fuzzy feeling that we're told is the spirit for both of those questions. Like, it can't be true and then not true all at the same time. So that night, my parents went home, like, we were done with Halloween night, and I'm talking to my husband again, and I was like, I don't know what to do about this. It just doesn't make sense. And I asked, what if the church isn't true? And when I said it out loud, everything changed. I broke down, and I said, it's not true. Like, saying it was almost a relief and a panic all at the same time. And I'd ended up in a severe panic attack, probably one of the worst panic attacks I've ever had. Because the moment I said that it wasn't true, that I didn't believe it was true, I realized I had been brainwashing my children. And that I had been harming them. Like, and all I was trying to do was just be a good mom. Like, I just wanted them to be good people, and so I was trying to teach them the gospel. And when I realized that I had been teaching them the same lies that had been taught to me, and that because I was doing that, that was harming them, I went into a full-blown panic attack. And I couldn't calm down. I tried, like, I could not catch my breath. I couldn't think straight. And I just kept thinking, God, my life is a lie. Everything I believed is a lie. And it feels like your whole foundation is just gone. Like, the floor that you're standing on just disappears and you're falling. It's horrifying. It's horrifying. But when I finally got to calm down, there was this real relief that I didn't have to try so hard anymore. I didn't have to worry about the thoughts in my head that might not be Christ-like, because I really thought that sometimes those were going to keep me from making it to the celestial kingdom. I was finally able to let go of a lot of the self-hate that I had because I wasn't this perfect wife and mother. And God, it was liberating. And mind you, I still struggle with some of that stuff. There's some days where I am still just like, I still don't feel like enough, but it's not nearly as bad as it was when I was in the church. I was constantly worried about everything, about how I was acting, how everybody was going to perceive me. And honestly, I think that last one is what really kept me in for so much longer than I should have been. Was I was worried about what my family was going to think about me when I left the church. I was worried that they were going to think that I was a bad person, a bad mother, that I was leading my family astray. And I did hear some things to that effect from people. I had people tell me that if I had read my scriptures enough, this wouldn't have happened. Or that's what you get for not reading your scriptures and praying enough. That the devil had a hold of me, and that's why and he wasn't working on me so hard, and that's why I felt better. Because in Mormonism, you can't leave the church and be happy. People think when you leave the church that there's not true happiness out of it. So everybody else who's outside of the church is fake happy. So when I came out of this, I realized very quickly that I was not going to be able to go back to church, because as soon as I was able to admit that it wasn't true, it felt like this toxic place to me. And so I messaged my bishop and told him I needed to be released from my callings. And it's funny, it took them like 5 months to release me from my callings. I've only been out of the church for like 7. And yeah, my whole life is different now. There's a lot of really good things. A lot of really, really good things. I feel so much better than I did before I left. There are a lot of really hard things though. The loss of community is really difficult. And I think that's something a lot of us are going through when you leave. But yeah, this has probably been like a ridiculously long video. I am gonna leave it there. And I really hope that you guys, if you're struggling, reach out. Because I do know how hard it can be. Faith transitions are difficult no matter what religion you're transitioning out of. So yeah, have a good night, guys.